For taking the time. Another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. A very special guest and featured titan for today, Tina Swonger. Tina, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Honor to have you on the show. I know there's so many people out there in anticipation just to dive in a little deeper, to get to know you a little more. So let's just jump in if that's all right.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm really excited to be here.
It's awesome. Awesome.
It's amazing to me, the opportunity to actually meet with you and be on your show. So I'm really honored. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot, and there's so much that you've done in the community, in the industry. Mm-hmm. I know there's so many nuggets that everybody out there is going to dive into, whether it's live here on the podcast. So let's just go into it. So tell everybody, I guess, a little bit about yourself.
Well, in anticipation for this, I was a little bit nervous, but I want to be just as real as I can possibly be.
Love it.
I'm from very close to East St. Louis, and I grew up there. It was very tough. I left home at 15 years old and came to Colorado, and I just feel like I came to heaven from the very beginning. Always, wanting that life, knew that I had to figure out how to create it. And what that looked like to me was have a lot of family and surround myself with friends and a successful career in a beautiful place like Colorado.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's huge, and again, thanks for sharing kind of your past and going into it. So why Colorado? What was it? I mean, and what was kind of the progression into where you're at today with your career as well, too?
Well, it was the boy next door.
Okay.
He's from Buena Vista.
Sure.
I had never really been outside of Missouri until we went up to Buena Vista in the mountains, and I had never seen snow in August.
Wow.
It was just so beautiful, and I was like, automatically I felt like I was home, because Colorado was like a big warm hug.
I love that.
I visit, Missouri now and St. Louis, and it's like, oh, I can't wait to get back home.
You're like, I'm sorry that I'm here. I miss everybody up in the mountains. That's
right.
Awesome.
I see the mountains and I'm like, okay, I'm home.
You're like, this is good. Now I can tell what orientation I'm in, whether it's west or southeast. Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so what about what got you into the business? Because the progression into your life bringing you to Colorado, what was it about real estate, and what was your path to now?
Well, I've always been kind of a self-starter, trying to get to learn, to grow, to learn, hang around people with positive influences in my life. I met a couple of real estate agents. I decided I wanted to buy a house. Okay. I was 21, and the real estate agent, she just doesn't listen to me.
Oh, no.
And so I'm like, well, if she can do it, why can't I?
Good point.
And, I had a lot of encouragement from a lot of really supportive people around me. Try not to get into that negative talk, about how I'm from somewhere that I should have grown, or should have had more education, should have had this, should have had that. But when I see people who are successful and I look at them and I talk to them, I'm like, I can do that. I can do that, and I can also help them avoid some of the negative things that happened to me when I was, buying my house. I wanted to make it a better experience with somebody who was competent and educated, and who genuinely cared about them and not just the money.
Right. And I love that you mentioned that, and there's so many advocates of the series, and I just want to touch on that note. Being a Titan isn't just about production and volume, and we kind of discussed this just a second ago, but it really comes down to the impact that you have in the community and doing the right thing for your client, and not just about that commission check. So
everything works out itself.
It
does. I mean, when you help people, everything in the world gets better.
I love that you have that mentality, and the sad thing is not every professional does. So again, I just want to shout out to everybody.
A A
Yeah,
lot do.
it's there for sure,
Yeah.
especially as a realtor, that sort of thing. So now with your progression in your career, so from the beginning to now, that's a wonderful thing. And I always look at it from the standpoint of there's got to be a driving force, right?
Mhm.
So the question that I always ask after this is, what's your why, Tina? What really gets you out of bed in the morning? What makes you do what you do to the level that you do it at?
Well, as my business started growing, I surrounded myself with, I've got an amazing assistant. I've got people who are, I've got a nice big family. I have 5 sons.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
7 grandchildren.
Get out of here. Congrats.
So there's
that's
a lot of
great.
people depending on me.
Yeah, okay.
And to be the best me I can be. And so I want to be there for them. I want to be able to help them when they need my help. And that goes for my clients too. That's my why. That's what gets me up in the morning. That's what gets me excited. I want to make sure that I'm the best me I can be to be there for them.
Wow.
So.
And I love that. I don't think there's there isn't a higher cause of why, as far as I'm concerned, than family first and foremost, and our immediate, children, things along those lines, spouses, whatever. But then if you go into your extended family, which is your clients, and I think that's wonderful,
gosh.
right?
And my team.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a wonderful partner. I've got a lady that's been with me for 7 years, and and then another lady we just brought on that are helping. I have to kind of get out of my way a little bit. I'm not a very good delegator.
Ah, come on.
But
you know what? But
they're pulling it out of me.
That's the important thing, is you're surrounding yourself with great people who all
Yeah.
have different things to bring to the table to help everybody that's involved in the transaction and in life.
Yeah.
So that's a great why. Now that transitions into a beautiful thing, which everybody out here is watching this series. They really enjoy what the Titans are, doing to implement and grow their business, right? Because everybody's in different stages, whether you're brand new or you're seasoned, there's something to be learned from success. So if you could look back at your career thus far, pick or choose 1 or 2 things that you added to your business that took it from one level to the next. What does that look like for you?
Wow, it was coaching, training, surrounding myself with some amazing mentors.
Okay.
Hiring my first assistant. I was scared to death.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Okay.
But I couldn't imagine not having my assistant.
Sure.
I mean, I just couldn't imagine that. And then this last year, I hired a full-time business coach that is taking it way to the next level.
I love that.
Burl Workman Success Systems. We are going to Scottsdale, Arizona for 4 days for some team leadership training and some really hardcore systems, and so that we can serve our clients better. That's the goal.
Okay.
And have a better quality life, not so stressful, but also have smoother processes. And we've already been doing it for the last 6 months, and it's a game changer.
Okay.
It's really a game changer. I think next year is going to be amazing.
2019 is going to be great, everybody. I agree with that. And Tina,
It doesn't matter what goes on in the world. We are going to rock it.
You're like, this is going to happen, everybody. You're all witness to this. I think there's so many really good pieces of advice that you have inside there. Obviously, talking about the people that support you and then bring it in as a team. I do want to address one thing that you did mention is, even though it was, a time ago in your career, hiring that first or that key role as an assistant, what was your thought process when you were doing that?
I was scared to death.
Okay.
I was scared to death. I thought, oh my God, I'm barely getting by. I'm working 60, 70 hours a week. How, I can barely afford doing what I'm doing. How can I afford somebody? And here was the thing. It wasn't necessarily that I could afford her, but that I was going to have another human being that depended on me.
Wow. Okay.
That was a big deal for me. Somebody who's going to come work with me and they've got a family to feed.
Right.
And so that was a lot of responsibility. And to take that on, sorry, I get choked up, but to take that on was a big step. But boy, I tell you what, when I did it, the life just got so much easier. All the way around. And like I said, I couldn't imagine not.
Okay. And so obviously, I mean, this kind of goes without saying, but you're glad you did.
Heck yeah.
You know, and I think for everybody else who's watching who maybe is on that teetering point, whether I should or shouldn't, take it from Tina. She's been there. She's done that. It's a good thing with the right people. So
I'll tell you, as soon as I hired, not only did my hours cut, but my business doubled.
wow. Okay.
Doubled. And I could have never predicted that. But it was because, you know, it was a lot of things I didn't like. I don't like to do paperwork. I don't like to do admin. I don't like to contracts and all that. I mean, I know them backwards and forwards, but by golly, I don't want to spend all day doing it. I'd rather be talking to my clients, my buyers, my sellers, figuring out, you know, how best to help them.
Right.
So
I think that's huge advice. I think that's great. So going into the second portion of that, something that really stuck out to me is coaching. And you diving into that, and obviously the past 6 months, as you discussed, there's a lot of other individuals, real estate professionals, that are always a little leery of bringing on a coach. I'm self-motivated. I can do this. Do I really need somebody in my corner that way? So,
heck
I mean,
yeah.
Okay, so your feedback, obviously, ultra positive.
You don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Wow, that's perfect. That's a quote right there from Tina.
As somebody telling you, like, hey, have you thought about this or that or this or that?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes all the difference in the world. Hiring a coach is the same. I was going through a lot of grief about that because of the money and the commitment and not sure if it's going to work or not, and hiring the right coach. And I've gone to a couple of different coaching, you know, seminars and things like that. But this is the one that, you know, I'm diving in head first. And so it was nervous. It was a lot of money, and it was all that. But I'm already seeing a big difference in my stress level, in the systems, and it's also making it easier, I think, for my team too, which is huge.
Yeah, true. I mean, there's so many different positives to that.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. And selecting the right one is a question that I get asked pretty considerably all the way through.
It's one that works for you.
Yeah, well said.
I mean, it you know, you know, there's a lot of different coaching programs out there. There's Ferry, there's Buffini, there's, you know, I chose this one because it was more well-rounded and more fit within my team culture.
Sure.
My personality, what my needs were, and my budget.
Yes, which is also crucially important, everybody. So, okay, that's great. That's great. And there's so many nuggets out there. Hopefully, everybody was taking notes because that's really, really good stuff. But Tina, let's go into the next question, and this really is a deeper dive into who you are as a person, and it comes down to the challenge question. Now, this is the tricky one, but we all deal with challenges in our lives, whether it's in the past, now, or in the future. No one is exempt. But at the end of the day, it's more so not so much what happens, but how we respond. So if you could look at a challenge you dealt with in your life that you overcame, that made you stronger because of it, what does that look like for you?
Every challenge that I've had in my life has made me stronger.
Okay.
You know, you look at things and you look at situations that were negative or were people would say were negative, and you just think about, well, what can I learn from it? What do I do about it? If I can't change it, how can I grow from it, make it better? I think one of the best things I ever did was marrying my husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was focused. I've been married for almost 20 years now.
Oh, congrats. That's great.
We merged our families together, and that was a beautiful thing. He's also a contractor, too. He helps.
Oh, okay.
He helps with my business, and he also listens to me when I've had a hard day. And that's a wonderful thing. But as far as dealing, I'll tell you the biggest challenge.
Sure. Yeah.
Was for me 2007 and 8 when the market crashed. Because it hit everybody. I was leveraged. I owned a motel, and my husband and I had another business, and the market crashed, and everything went sideways. And I was leveraged in a big way because I'm like, this money is going to last forever.
Sure.
It doesn't. I'm telling you.
Listen to Tina.
Save your money.
Yeah.
Make a budget.
You know, it's so true. And you know, again, thank you for sharing that portion. And you're right with the statement that you made is so many people had a really, really tough time. But that was not just you. There's a lot out there. Obviously,
I didn't feel alone.
Yes, you were not alone. There was a lot happening in that time frame. And that's been a reoccurring thing on the show, too, is that financial portion and struggle into there. But again,
But you know what? I was able to help other people because I was going through a lot of the same stuff. I could totally relate. So when we saw the tsunami coming, it was like, okay, brace for impact. Get your certified distressed property expertise. I am not going down with the ship. I'm going to fight. I'm going to figure out, I'm going to do beans and rice and beans. Thank you, Dave Ramsey.
Yes.
and we're going to get through it. We're going to plow through it. And we're going to come out, smelling like a rose on the other side. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
I think I did 65 short sales. And I tell you, soul sucking. That whole process, working with the banks and the multiple contracts and people's lives were so impacted during that. But it was such a blessing.
Okay.
Because coming from where I came from, I've been there.
Yeah.
I've
Good
been
point.
there.
Yeah.
And so I could really work with them where they were at the time and tell them, hey, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. We just got to get through this. This isn't going to be the end of the world. Where you're at right now isn't where you're always going to be. And in fact, 3, 4, 5 years later, I'm actually selling them another house or helping them or their family purchase another home, helping them with credit counseling, helping them with, to do the same thing I did, hunker down, get her done, move on,
I think that you say so many positive things into that, and a lot of other people, that's super defeating, and they would just kind of crawl into a hole and just stay. But you said, no, I'm not going to do that.
Come on, let's get through this.
Yeah. But then you also projected that on so many others. So it wasn't just about you. It was greater than you, which was wonderful. So as negative as a situation that was, you spun that into a positive, and I think that's extremely important.
It wasn't easy.
Yeah, I hear you. It's work. It's work, everybody.
That's the, getting up in the morning, it's like, oh, God.
Here we go again.
Here we go. All right, we can do this, but keep on.
Oh, gosh, I love that. But that's you're making a conscious effort to be positive, and it's not easy, but I mean, I always look at that as you can be on the negative or positive side. I choose positive every time. I really do.
Or if I'm not being in the positive space, I'm kicking my own butt, or allowing other people like my coaches to kick my butt for me so that I can get focused on the right direction.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so Tina, thank you for sharing that. It was not easy to do. I know Aaron, every stuff out in front of everybody is not easy, but I appreciate that. Hopefully everybody can really take that to heart and understand that we all deal with challenges. It's okay. Just keep pushing, keep fighting, be positive. I think that's the whole message with what you're saying too.
100%.
So let's go a little softer,
okay,
because that was a tough one. But let's go into actually one of my favorite questions, which comes back to the travel back in time scenario. So if you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, what would you say to young Tina?
Really need to work on that self-talk, Tina.
Okay. Yeah.
That you need to get that out of the way. Other people's opinion of you don't matter. Your opinion of you matters. And if you want to go forward, you got to stop looking backwards.
Wow. That's huge advice. I mean, when it comes down to it, there's so many stops in everybody's lives where we're concerned about what others think or how they feel.
Yeah.
And it really can be stifling. But I think that at the end of the day, you really have to be concerned about how you feel and what's going on and how you're projecting positive nature out to other people. There's always going to be haters, naysayers, people that are negative and they want to project their negativity on you. You try to help who you can, but you block it out and move on. And I think that's huge advice.
It is.
For everybody out there.
It's advice for me.
Yeah. Yes, not just young Tina, but seriously, everybody out there who's watching and listening. Yes, today, Greg too. I mean, seriously, you have to look at it from that standpoint, and I think that so many people just get stopped and just don't. I mean, seriously.
There's always do-overs, though. You get in a bad place, you can always turn the page.
Well said. Well said. Okay, so let's go into one of the favorite portions for some of the viewers out there. It's the feeding of the mind question. So a lot of people, they're wondering what the Titans are growing and feeding their minds with. So it's, books you've been reading or podcasts you're listening to or influences on social media or coaches. How are you feeding your mind?
Well, I tell you what, and when you get into negative space, the only way to challenge that is to look at a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And that is by reading books, listening to audiobooks, which is what I do. I don't do much podcasting,
Okay.
although I do want to look into that because there are several people I really want to follow.
Sure.
But, I mean, when I was talking about Dave Ramsey,
Yeah.
and Rich Dad, Poor Dad kind of made me shift my mindset on budgeting and responsibility and things, self-awareness, and, you know, I can't tell you how many books I've been reading. I mean, I've been devouring them.
Love it.
I'm on Amazon and Audible all day, you know, trying to figure out. Every time I talk to somebody, they tell me a new book. I'm like, ooh, I got to get that.
On the list.
I just got Michael Strausner's book. We did leadership training. My husband and I did a while ago, and he was actually the person who started it, where you get out on the skinny branches.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So and then there's also, you know, the coaches and what they're publishing and so forth. So yeah, there are so many wonderful books out there, wonderful tapes and CDs to listen to that kind of shifts your mindset. The one thing, big deal.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you?
I have not. I have not.
Oh,
I'm
you
a
got
constant reader, so that'll be on my list.
The
Everybody
one
too.
thing, yeah, because I tell you, I'm a ice squirrel big time, and the
Okay.
one thing really helps me focus and understand that you take the most important thing first, the rest works itself out.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
You know, and it's common sense and typical, but common sense doesn't seem to be that common. So
No,
I think
yeah.
that's great. So any other books, podcasts, anything like that, or is that pretty well covered?
That's the only ones I
Okay.
mean, I know there's millions of
Oh, no,
them,
I
but
hear you.
Yeah.
I always make sure the highlights are out there,
Yes.
just for everybody out there. So I'm going to have a list of everything that Tina just mentioned.
Miracle Morning, too, was really good. If you've
Okay,
ever heard.
I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
So the list of everything will be down below, so everybody can follow along and read and feed their mind just the same way that you are. So I think that's really important too. So I just definitely love that segment, and the fact that you're constantly growing and learning and not giving up on that. There's so many people that have that perspective. I know it all, and I just don't think that's a healthy way to go.
It is not.
So I love that, and that's a great list. Have it down below. Everybody can follow along that way. So Tina, this has been chock full of amazing information, so much good data, takeaways for everybody who's listening. We'll sum everything up and wrap it up with one last question.
Okay.
So when it comes down to it, if you could sum up yourself as a person, a professional, as a brand with a mantra or a quote that you live by, what does that look like for Tina Swonger?
I would have to say, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
Beautiful.
That's what I think about.
I think at the end of the day, that's so much for so many people to truly understand. It is about giving, and
Yeah.
it is about others.
Mhm.
And I think that's a takeaway for everybody to really put in your hearts and your heads. And I think that sums yourself up as a brand, as a professional. Tina, your reputation out in the community is impeccable. There's so much love and respect out there from all of your peers, but also your clients and your team and your family. So hopefully everybody got a little window into Tina a little bit more. But thanks so much for being on the show, Tina. You are an official Real Estate Titan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for your time and attention, your love and support. As always,
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas and well, not soon to be Happy New Year, but in a little bit. We're almost there. We're getting closer to 2019. But live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch all you guys on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.